Hey friends, it's me, Jay Lobos, Mr. Credit Repair Expert, Mr. Buildworth Strategies. And on this episode, I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about Chex Systems, what you guys could do to either pull a report, get yourself... Just to go into this, today I wanted to go ahead and talk about Chex Systems. But before we go ahead and go and dive into this is actually for my podcast. So it's ruining my hair. So let me go ahead and take this off. Guys, I wanted to talk to you today. I actually had a friend of mine. He's actually helping me out through the process of purchasing a home. And, you know, it happens to everybody. Basically, somebody gave him a check. He made a deposit for a purchase, something that he sold. Somebody gave him a check. He made a deposit. That check bounced. And he's calling me because he's like, Justo, what do I do now? What's going to happen with this account? Is it advisable? Is it feasible for me to go ahead and make the payment? Not make the payment? It wasn't my fault. Am I going to land in Chex Systems? Now, just to go ahead and clarify a little bit as to what is Chex Systems. Chex System basically is like the same thing as what the credit reporting agencies do. First off, it's governed under the same rules and regulations like the Fair Credit Reporting Act, which basically was amended. It needs to make sure that everything is verifiable, accurate, and complete. So that's one good thing about that. Now, Chex Systems, really what it is, it's a system that's connected amongst all the banks. So what happens is, let's say as an example, if I had an account with Bank of America and for whatever X and Y, Z reason, there was a balance, a negative balance on my account, and guess what? I never made a payment towards that account. The bank went ahead and closed it. Guess what? If I go into if I go into Chase, I'm actually going backwards to Washington Mutual. If I go into Chase and I want to go ahead and open a bank account there, either a personal or a business account, I go into Wells Fargo, I go into one of these other institutions, guess what? They're all linked together. And with that said, if I had a balance, they're all going to talk. Once they go ahead and input all my personal information and they check out, if that information comes up, guess what? That negative balance is going to come up. So I'm not going to be able to open an account if I've had another account somewhere that I left abandoned. I didn't take care of it, or I didn't pay off that debt. So a few key points. I wanted to talk to you guys about 5 key points you can do to better protect yourself, and in a sense, how to equip yourself if this has happened to you, or how to avoid from this actually happening to you. So one of the key first things that I always tell people is get knowledgeable, get some sort of information. So request a report. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and leave on this video, I'm gonna leave a phone number and a link to a website that could help you guys out if you guys are obviously looking for more information, because there's a couple of ways on how to initiate a dispute and get more information. So the first step is you need to get a report. So by going into the site, once you go in there, you put in all your information, they're gonna send you a report, and that report's gonna come with a lot of valuable information. If you had a balance somewhere, it's gonna come with the bank institution name, it's gonna come out with the information like the address, it's gonna come out with the balance. So all of that stuff is pretty cool. Now, it's also, if you've had a check, like an outstanding balance and stuff like that, that's also gonna come in there. So first off is know if you have something, and if you know that you do, that's the information that's gonna come up on it. Now, the second thing is, how do we go about disputing some sort of error, right? So there's a couple of ways on how to initiate it. Me personally, I've done Chex Systems in the past for other customers or other clients. I like doing it electronically. So you can do it by phone, which I'm gonna go ahead and leave the number below on this video. You could go ahead and do it by mail, which again, I'm also gonna leave the information. You could send and submit, mail and return receipt. The same process that we go through when we initiate a credit repair dispute is pretty much the same way. Throw some of the 609 in there, which is the rules and regulations under the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Obviously, if you know there's some sort of discrepancy, obviously what you want to do is first gather that information first. So that dispute's going to basically just get shut off. You're going to go ahead and receive a letter in a short amount of time, usually in the next 7 to 10 business days. But I always tell people wait approximately 30 days Once you receive that letter, then you're going to have all the information that you need in order for you to do either an additional compelling dispute, or once you fired off that dispute, if you are successful, you might get that information deleted. Now, what another good way to avoid being in Chex Systems, guys, is by paying off your debt. Obviously, I can't stress it enough. This actually happens a lot. Sometimes with my credit repair clients, people ask me what's the best way to go about, obviously not getting a collection. Well, it's by paying it off, right? One good thing is when you go ahead and pay off a Chex Systems account, you can do one of two things. First off, you could go ahead and send that over to the creditor. It's gonna have an actual balance on it. So if you had an account with Bank of America, you defaulted on it, and then you got your report, you found out the balance, you went ahead and you owned up to it, you paid it off, you could literally send that information over to the creditor and have that creditor update that information. And the second thing is send a request for them to go ahead and delete it off their system, so that this way it doesn't prevent you from opening an account elsewhere. And now another thing too is ask the creditors obviously to remove it, which is super, super important, which I obviously just covered on that one. And the best way to do, to obviously not fall into this, guys, it's just like what I was just telling my friend right now. Even though that it's something that it wasn't maybe intentionally, it wasn't your fault, regardless of the fact, that's not really something that the bank cares about. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to own up to it. I'd rather you have an overdrawn account of $800, contact your creditor. First off, your creditor gives you up to 60 for you to go ahead and make those payments. If it's possible, my suggestion is you're gonna run through a headache. The headache is the information is gonna go ahead. You're gonna default on that account. Obviously, if that is the intention, you're gonna have to open up another bank account like yesterday. Because guess what? After that length of time, 60 to 90 days, then guess what's gonna happen? Then they're gonna go ahead and report you, and you're not gonna be able to open an account. So my suggestion is to you guys out there watching, contact the creditor, let them know that guess what? This was not of your fault. If they have to open up some sort of investigation, some sort of case, make some notes in the system that it was not you. Obviously, it was fraudulent. You received the check, you make the deposit, and unfortunately, that overdrew your account when that check got withdrawn back from you. So what's gonna happen in that particular case is you're gonna have at least 60 to 90 days, make a payment arrangement. You're gonna avoid from that information ever coming into Chex Systems. So in the future, anything could happen. Maybe all of a sudden you wanna get into business and you wanna open up a business account. That could prevent you from opening up a business account. And so at the same time, if they do go ahead and send that information off to collections, it can even go onto your credit report. Now, the last thing you could do, which is the fifth thing, is just wait for it to fall off. I know historically it could take anywhere up to 5 years, but who wants to wait that length of time? So my suggestion is, guys, for those people who are going through a process of Chex Systems, do the best that you can to not fall under that. Obviously, when you're receiving checks, when you're making payments, when you're doing transactions or making deals, make sure you do your due diligence on that company, on that individual, so that this doesn't happen to you and you could avoid this. So again, thank you so much for obviously listening to this video, looking at this video. I'm gonna come up with some more great questions that I've been asked. I wanna go ahead and share with you guys. Remember to like, subscribe, and comment. If you guys have any other questions, any other concerns with regards to anything financial, credit is gonna be from the early warning system. So stay tuned for that video as well. Thank you so much again. Thank you for watching.